Hello, everybody, and welcome to Season 5, Episode 1 of the CR Sports Podcast. Football is finally here, college football. This is the first, official weekend, week 1, as people like to say, and the NFL starts on Thursday.
Yeah, no, football season's finally getting underway, but we're probably not going to talk about it this episode, but we cannot forget the MLB season. We have the playoffs coming up in just a month as well.
Yeah, I mean, MLB, they still got a lot of things to work out with the wild card races in both the NL and AL, obviously. But, Garrett, I say let's jump straight into it with the Lions and the Chiefs, week 1 in Arrowhead.
Yeah, no, this is going to be a great game. The Thursday night game always draws a lot of fans with the first game of the season, and they're actually adding another Thursday night viewing option. It's like some AI powered thing where you can see like all these advanced analytics and stuff. I personally will not be tuning into that, but I'm sure that'll draw some attention.
Didn't they try that out on some other broadcast I've seen before? Does Monday Night have an option of that, or I feel like they might have done that in years. They did that last year, I think. Still.
Yeah, they didn't do it with Prime. This year is the first Prime year, but it's almost like a StatCast.
Yes, yeah.
It's a lot similar to the MLB StatCast option, but I think the Chiefs will take care of business. The Lions are going to be coming out with a lot of fire after barely missing the playoffs last year in that Sunday night game that, although they won, the Seahawks won as well, so they were not able to make it in. But there's a lot of hype going into the season for the Lions. A lot of people think, oh, they went 9-8 last year after their terrible start. They finished out so well. A lot of people are putting them in their playoff bracket.
Yeah, and that's with a weak NFC North without Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay anymore. So it's kind of open for the Lions to make a name for themselves. But there's a lot of question marks as well in the AFC North. You don't know how Justin Fields is going to play. You don't know how Jordan Love is going to play. Jordan Love's probably the biggest question mark. And then the Vikings, who are kind of in a semi-rebuild, I'd say. I mean, they're still hanging on to the stars. Like, they have Justin Jefferson.
I wouldn't say they're in a rebuild.
They have Kirk Cousins, but they've been losing people, and their defense really isn't that strong.
Yeah, I want to say they're in a
their defense
rebuild.
is pretty bad.
They're probably the favorites right now to win the NFC North. So you can't really. It's hard to be in a rebuild with that, but
I've been seeing people put any one of the 4 teams to win it.
Yeah, I want to be surprised if any one of the 4 teams win it. It would take a lot of Justin Fields, I think, for the Bears to win it, but I think Jordan Love's going to be solid, and the Packers have a good squad, so I could see any of these teams winning it. But back to the Thursday night action, the Chiefs, they always look a little sloppy at the start of the year. I don't know if they're not completely dialed in or what it is, but they'll always have a game early on in the first 5 weeks or so where you just scratch your head. Like, they lost to the Colts last year,
right,
in week 3 or 4, I think it was, and I don't think this is going to be week 1 for them, but they're going to have one of those at some point.
Yeah, I think so. So it is a chance for the Lions to go out there and kind of make a name for themselves real early. But at the same time, it's a primetime game for Jared Goff in Arrowhead. That atmosphere is going to be absolutely crazy, especially coming off, obviously, the Super Bowl victory. I still got the Chiefs in this one. I think Mahomes is going to be able to find a way, with or without Chris Jones, with his contract disputes on the defensive side of the ball. I think the atmosphere is going to be absolutely electric, and I think Mahomes is going to be calm.
Yeah, with or without Chris Jones, it feels like the same old Chiefs to me with Mahomes and Kelsey. And it's first game of the year. You mentioned Jared Goff in a hostile environment. I think I'm going to have to go with the Chiefs in this one.
Yeah, I agree.
And then our first game of the Sunday slate at 1 o'clock is going to be Panthers-Falcons. The Falcons are favored by 3.5 in this game. I could see this game really going either way. I think I'm going to have to side with the Falcons just because it's going to be Bryce Young's debut. And I think it's going to take him a little while to figure things out in the NFL, but I think he's going to be solid overall. But this Panthers team is still a couple years away.
I have really no idea who to pick in this game because Desmond Ridder I feel like, is just as big of a question mark as Bryce Young is. You saw him at the end of last season, but you still really do not know what the Falcons have with him. So it's interesting for both teams. Talk about a wide open division. It's the NFC South. The NFC South does not have Tom Brady in it anymore for the Bucs. It's going to be Baker or Kyle Trask at some point. I feel like Kyle Trask might win it. But in New Orleans, I see them as the favorites for that division. But for this game specifically, I would pick Carolina. I think Bryce Young is going to come out, maybe surprise some people. But I'm not really confident with the pick, Garrett. I'm not confident in either one of these teams for the whole year. Bryce Young, really just a wild card. You see what you're going to get with him. The size is what people have been complaining about, or it's his knock, I guess you could say. But you don't really know what you have in either teams. and I guess I'm more confident in the number 1 overall pick instead of Desmond Ritter.
Yeah, I don't know. The Falcons just had such a dominant run game last year, and they just added Bijan Robinson to that I think in a battle of two young, unproven quarterbacks, I'm gonna have to lean on the team with the rushing attack that's gonna lead them to success. In this matchup, I think I trust the Falcons' offensive line as well as the running backs. I know it'll be Bijan's first game as well, but I trust that offensive line a lot more than the Panthers.
The Panthers do have a good defense, though, with Brian Burns and J.C. Horn. Those are two guys. I mean, obviously, Burns is the outside linebacker, and then Horn is the corner. But they got guys on different levels of the field that I think may be able to neutralize Bijan's attack. There's no question that he's probably going to be super electric to get out of the gates early, though.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know who's going to win this game. It's sort of a toss-up for me, but I just think week 1 of the NFL season, if you have what I consider sort of a rookie quarterback in Desmond Ritter, I think if you can lean on the run game, that's only going to help.
So Bengals, Browns we go to. I got the Bengals in this one, easy. Deshaun Watson is now getting like a full year in the offseason with the Browns, and people have high hopes, especially Madden does for whatever reason. They rated like the Browns like an 87 overall, like in like that's like an elite rating for a team in Madden. So that's kind of funny to me, but there's a lot of hype with Deshaun Watson. People think he's going to go back to his old Texan self from 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021. I don't think it's going to happen right away, and I think the time off really was meaningful, and it doesn't really help with quarterbacks. Maybe with somebody that's resting their legs, but with your arm being out there, maybe it's going to take him a few weeks to get adjusted to it. I got Joe Burrow and the Bengals all day in this one, up big.
I think this is going to be a lot closer of a game. The Bengals are only favored by 2.5. Joe Burrow is still coming off the injury. He's not even ruled to play yet. He is questionable. I think he's going to end up playing.
Yeah.
He's a gamer of all people. But like you mentioned, Deshaun Watson finally gets a full offseason with the team, sort of gets to recoup with the guys. They have such a great running back in Nick Chubb. And this is a Browns team that I feel like is sort of under the radar. I felt like last year everyone was high on the Browns because of Deshaun Watson eventually coming back, and they were like, oh, if Jacoby Brissett can just get him to when he gets back with a 4-4 record or whatever, and then he got him there with like 3-5 or something, and then Deshaun got there and they weren't really any better. And Deshaun just looked all out of sorts last year on the Browns. It looked like he hadn't had any chemistry with really the offensive line or his wide receivers. So I think a full offseason is going to help that. I'm going to take the Bengals, but this game being in Cleveland, in division rivals, week 1, it's hard to pick a blowout. It's just the nature of the NFL. Division games can really go any way. I think the Bengals are going to win the NFC North this year, but
AFC.
I think, the AFC North, excuse me, but it's really a toss-up for second right now with the Browns being in the middle of it.
Yeah, I think I agree with you with a toss-up. I think I'd pick the Steelers over the Browns even. I'm not confident in Deshaun Watson. I don't know if that's me being a little bit biased just because of what he did, and I'm against him personally, but I really think this is the Bengals' division to lose, and I don't think they're going to be doing it anytime soon, despite Joe Burrow coming back from an injury. So, Garrett, you just talked about that divisional matchup. Let's go to another one with the Jaguars and the Colts. These are two teams that I think the Jags have had. Has Trevor Lawrence ever beaten the Colts? Is that like the storyline going into it?
Yeah, no, he hasn't done it recently, if he's done it at all.
I don't think he has.
This is just it's one of those weird matchups where you're like, the Jaguars are the better team and the Colts are not supposed to be good this year, but for some reason this game will be close. I'm going to pick the Jaguars, though. They really overachieved last year, so they're coming into this season with a lot higher expectations than last year. Trevor Lawrence is going to be held a lot more accountable than he was last campaign as well, and
He was
Jonathan,
really good last year, though.
yeah, Jonathan Taylor is on the PUP list. He will not be playing, even if I don't think he's going to ever play another game for the Colts. But Anthony Richardson, I think his first start would be a little bit smoother. I don't know about a lot smoother if he had Jonathan Taylor with him in the backfield. And this Colts team is just they're a rebuild. It's a rebuild year for the Colts. They're going to be really bad, I think. Hopefully Anthony Richardson shows promise, but if the Jaguars want to be taken seriously, they have to put the Colts away and do it in week 1.
Yeah, they've had trouble with beating the Colts. I don't think they've ever beaten them with Trevor Lawrence, and I just see this Jaguars team coming in with Calvin Ridley, a guy who's had fresh legs. I just said Deshaun Watson, it doesn't really matter, but for a wideout, I think it does. He had a year off, a year removed because of that gambling suspension. I think he's going to come out ready to run, ready to go, and he's got a lot of weapons now with Evan Ingram, Zay Jones, Calvin Ridley. you're going to be able to Travis Etienne in the backfield. You're going to be seeing Trevor Lawrence, I think, work the ball a lot more, put up his numbers, have another really good season, and I think the Jaguars team is just going to continue to build.
Yeah, no, I think again, I can't see it being a blowout. Just divisional matchups
Yeah, I
are
agree.
hardly ever blowouts. So, especially in week one, really anything can happen. But the Jaguars should put the Colts away in the fourth quarter.
I also can't trust Anthony Richardson starting off,
Yeah.
especially from what you saw at Florida. You can't just automatically think that not sitting behind a veteran quarterback, all of his problems that he had are just going to go away like that week one. Because
Yeah.
he had a lot of problems in college.
Yeah, no, honestly wouldn't be surprised. I don't know what to expect out of Anthony Richardson. Any stat line wouldn't really surprise me, but we'll move on to another game. And the post Tom Brady era is not looking too bright in Tampa Bay. I think this is going to be the largest blowout of Week 1. The Vikings, hungry for revenge after that early playoff exit last year at home against the Giants, playing a Buccaneers team who it was sort of, we thought Tom Brady was going to retire, but we didn't really know for sure. And now we know, and it feels like there's a lot of energy out of Tampa Bay football-wise.
And I think to note it, both wide receivers that are Mike Evans and Justin Jefferson in this matchup, Evans obviously for the Bucs and then Jefferson for the Vikings, both looking for new contracts going into this game. So we'll see if they'll play. Hopefully Jefferson plays. I need him for fantasy.
As
but
if Jefferson needed more motivation.
yeah, I know, right? But I think this is going to be the Vikings game to lose. It would be kind of just really weird to see them lose this game. I have no confidence in the Bucs this season. I think they're probably going to be a top 5 pick for next year. I mentioned it earlier. It's either going to be Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask. It's Baker starting off the season. Then I could see Trask maybe later on, but I don't think they have the future right now at quarterback in Tampa Bay, and they're just trying to get after. They're trying to move on from the post Tom Brady era.
Yeah, it's going to take a couple years, I think, to really recover.
Hey, you got a Super Bowl. I mean, it was worth
yeah,
it.
it's same with the Rams. Like,
They're going to be bad for a while.
the
too.
Rams might be bad for a while, but Super Bowls don't come at a cheap price, so I'm sure they're glad they did that. Sort of an intriguing matchup for me is Titans-Saints, going to be going on in New Orleans. Derek Carr making his Saints debut. The Saints are favored by 3 points here. A lot of question marks with both teams, though, as the Saints, Michael Thomas is finally, hopefully, going to play.
Alvin Kamara is
Alvin
out.
Kamara is out for the first 3 weeks, but then the young talent Chris Olave, who is going to be the wide receiver 1 in New Orleans, and then obviously the new piece with Derek Carr. So a lot to figure out, I think, on both sides for these teams.
Yeah, I would agree. I got the Saints in this matchup, though. I really do think the Saints have an opportunity this year. And I think Derek Carr has a huge opportunity this year to make a name for himself because people have kind of doubted him. You know, he had a couple of really good seasons. 2021, he had a really good season, actually. And just can't find a way to make the playoffs. I think he's got a real opportunity, and I think he's going to show that by winning the NFC South. And I think he's going to start off week 1 with a win against the Titans. I don't really have a lot of confidence in this Titans team. I don't know where they actually are right now. You know, Derrick Henry's getting older and older. He's getting more carries, too. I don't know if he's at the same level that he once was. But I'm not so sure what to expect from the Titans this year.
Yeah, they have sort of question at quarterback. They did just draft one, but they still have Malik Willis sort of just hanging around in the background. What are they going to do with him? And I don't know. Just Mike Vrabel is just a really good coach, though. So it wouldn't be surprised me if they can get up to 7, 8, 9 wins.
And
but
they have a good defense, too.
They shouldn't be a playoff team.
No, I agree. A team that may or may not be a playoff team this year, the Pittsburgh Steelers, your Pittsburgh Steelers, Garrett, are going up against the San Francisco 49ers. Another contract dispute, which is kind of crazy. Nick Bosa. So it's questionable if he'll play in this game, not because of injury, but because of a contract dispute.
Yeah, I want to be angry if he's not playing. That'll only help the run game with the two-headed monster of Najee and Jalen Warren. But a couple second-year quarterbacks who are looking to take that next step, you know. Brock Purdy was great in the regular season, but question marks sort of came up in the playoffs. And then,
Well, with the UCL injury, how
and
is he going to be the same that he was before or after? It's
that's
hard to
never
tell.
going to be easy to come back from. And then the 49ers, you mentioned the Nick Bosa contract dispute. Just more news sort of surrounding them is trading Trey Lance to the Cowboys, now making Sam Darnold the backup. So that Maybe Sam Darnold's been balling in training camp or something, but it's gonna be. I think this is gonna be a really good matchup. I honestly don't know who to pick. I have to pick the Steelers because they're my favorite team, but I want to be surprised if either team won. I think it's gonna be a back and forth matchup, but I'm really looking just to see that Kenny Pickett takes the next step from his rookie year, and now that T.J. Watt's back fully healthy, I'm hoping we can make the playoffs this year. I think we'll be right around 9-10 wins though.
I think the 49ers will win this game. I'll pick the Niners. But weirder things have happened. You saw last year they lost to the Bears in that rain game in Week 1, if you remember, with Trey Lance actually starting at quarterback. But I can't trust Pickett 100%. Yeah, I know he had that really good stretch at the end of the season last year for the Steelers, but this Niners defense, it really does matter if Nick Bosa is going to play. But even without him, I still think their defense is so good. They're so physical. Kyle Shanahan is a great game planner. That they're going to have a rushing attack with Christian McCaffrey. They're going to get the ball to Deebo Samuel. They're going to get it to Kittle. They're going to work it around. And I think it's going to be too hard for the Steelers to stop at the end of the day.
Yeah, the Steelers just.
And this is a team that's been in the playoffs, deep playoff runs for the past few years now, Garrett.
If the Steelers could top their Week 1 performance last year, that'd be just incredible. That game where the Bengals scored the game-tying touchdown as time expired, and then the Steelers blocked the extra point just for the Bengals to miss the first field goal in overtime, and then Chris Boswell hit the upright in overtime, and then they finally kicked the game-winning field goal, and what was just an insane game Week 1 last year. So if we could get something like that, that would be amazing, but it just goes to show that you never know what could happen. The 49ers are the favorites in this game, and it's in Pittsburgh, so obviously Vegas thinks the 49ers are going to win, and I wouldn't be too surprised if that happened. Kyle Shanahan, just amazing game plans every game, really, but it'll be a good one. I'm excited to watch.
A game that I do not think is going to be a good one. The Cardinals and the Commanders.
The Cardinals might go 0-17 this year. They are terrible.
And without Kyler Murray because of injury due to his ACL, I think he's out for at least the first 4 weeks, right? He's on the PUP list, so that'll be interesting. I definitely think the Commanders are easily going to win this game. I think the Cardinals suck, to put it lightly. And Sam Howell, real interesting guy. You know, you saw him play this preseason, beating the Ravens, who had their 23-24 game preseason win streak snapped by them. It looked like the Commanders just won the Super Bowl if you watch that game and the way they reacted. But either way, I think this is the Commanders' game from the get-go, and I think they're going to blow out the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals are really bad.
Yeah, ever heard of Clayton Tune?
Have not.
Well, he'll be starting at quarterback for the Cardinals. As they also signed Josh Rosen to be the backup, so
Try again.
That's what they got going on at quarterback there with Kyler Murray out. Yeah, the Cardinals are not good. They're really bad. It's going to be a test for Sam Howell, I guess, but not really because they're playing the Cardinals. So I'm looking Week 2 to see how good he is, because this game's sort of a joke. Any team that gets to play the Cardinals this year is going to be lucky.
Let's move on, Garrett.
But yeah, no more talking about that game. Texans-Ravens, another debut. C.J. Stroud drafted 2nd overall by Houston. This game will be in Baltimore. The Ravens, double-digit favorites by 10 at home. Lamar Jackson, after all the offseason noise, back in Baltimore. A team that's yet to really make any loud noise in the playoffs. They'll be looking to do that this year. I think the Ravens are going to control this one.
I agree. You know, C.J. Stroud, maybe he's going to have a really good campaign. They got Willie Anderson as well. Those 2 high draft picks because they traded up. But I think this is the Ravens game. I think the Ravens are going to be pretty good with Lamar. And, you know, he's got a little bit more weapons now with OBJ and Zay Flowers. They drafted guys for him. He's got the new contract. I think the Ravens are definitely going to win this game.
And we know that Aaron Rodgers owns the Bears, but it's time to find out if Jordan Love owns the Bears as well.
Didn't Jordan Love say he already did? He already said? Yeah, I swear he already said that on social media or something.
He might have, but this is a Bears team who they felt like they were a good 3-14 team last year, if that's possible. Yeah. But Justin Fields showed a lot of promise. A lot of people think he's going to take a step forward. I'm not as high on him as other people are. I do think he's going to be pretty solid, and I got the Bears at like 7 or 8 wins, but I think the Packers are also going to be right around that. Jordan Love, I think, is a pretty solid quarterback. I don't think he's going to be amazing, but I think he's going to be the starter for the future in Green Bay.
I like what I've seen. I know it's the preseason, but with DJ Moore now with the Bears, it gives Fields a legitimate number 1 option. Sorry, Chase Claypool, you're not a number 1 receiver. And now that he has DJ Moore, I'm actually stoked for the Bears. I think that he's gonna be able to throw it around a ton to DJ Moore, and I got the Bears winning this game. I think Fields with his rushing attack, his dual threat capability, I got the Bears in this game. And that doesn't mean the Packers might not be good. I think the Packers are going to be good, but I'm confident in Justin Fields with DJ Moore this year.
Yeah, I'll take the Bears. I think they'll be pretty excited to look down on the other sideline and not see Aaron Rodgers shooting up for Green Bay, so I'll go with the Bears. And then we got another divisional matchup here. It's the AFC West this time with the new look Sean Payton Broncos taking on the new look Jimmy Garoppolo Raiders. I don't know who to pick in this
pretty
game.
Boring, I feel like, but I guess I go the Broncos because how could they be worse than last year? Russell Wilson has to improve, it feels like, or his career is completely over with Sean Payton. We'll see. But I got the Broncos in this game just from that standpoint, and because I don't trust Josh McDaniels and the Raiders with Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, I think the Raiders are going to be a 6 or 7, maybe 8-win team. They're not going to be terrible, but they're not going to make the playoffs either. I think the Broncos are going to be pretty good this year. I think just the shift from Nathaniel Hackett to Sean Payton is really going to show. Like you mentioned, Russell Wilson, he's never going to be his MVP self from Seattle, but it's hard to replicate what he did last year where he was just terrible. So I'll take the Broncos in this one. I think they're going to have a pretty successful year.
I don't think so because from a successful year type thing because you've seen Russell Wilson now, Garrett, for the past 2 years. People don't realize in 2021 with the Seahawks, he fell off a cliff, like compared to 2020. It was a big difference. People thought it was a Seahawks problem. Well, it clearly wasn't because then Geno Smith went in there and balled out. So I think Russell is not going to be good, but it's just from a standpoint they're playing a bad team in the Raiders, and I don't think the Raiders are going to be any good this year.
Yeah, so we got an intriguing matchup going on in Foxborough between the NFC champion Eagles of last year and the New England Patriots. Mac Jones just doesn't do it for me. They're running it back with him, though, in New England. But Bill Belichick at home, you don't want to pick against him a ton, but I got to lean Eagles in this one.
This would be a stunner if the Patriots win this game in my eyes. I don't really see a world where the Eagles are 0-1 and the Patriots are 1-0 this season. I got the Eagles all day in this one. I don't really think it's going to be close.
Yeah, it's hard for me to see the Patriots getting blown out, but I think Jalen Hurts is going to run pretty wild, and the Patriots I don't think they have what it takes, especially in a loaded AFC East this year. A very intriguing matchup going on in SoFi Stadium between the Dolphins and the Chargers. How can Tua bounce back from his up-and-down concussion year last year? And then the Chargers, it felt like they pieced things together at the end of the year, and then they took a 27-0 lead into Jacksonville into the second half, but they weren't able to move on. So a lot of frustration probably boiling over for the Chargers. I think they're going to win this one.
I think the Chargers are going to win this one as well. You know, Jalen Ramsey, his injury is still with Miami. Is he going to play or no?
He'll be back at some point this year, but he's not ready week 1.
I don't think he's ready week 1, and I don't think the Dolphins are going to be ready for the passing attack with Herbert, and now his guys with Quentin Johnson, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, who just got a contract, and Austin Eckler in the backfield, obviously. Rashawn Slater as well, he's back. So I think Herbert's going to just take another step forward. Now they got Kellen Moore as the offense coordinator. Kellen Moore, a guy who I don't really like that much because of what he did in Dallas. It's questionable play calls, but we'll see if it makes a difference for the Chargers and Brandon Staley. But I got the Chargers in week 1 over the Dolphins.
Yeah, the Chargers need to be good this year, and they need to make some noise in the playoffs. I'm sort of tired of hearing how good they are, and I know Justin Herbert's a generational talent, but with Braden Staley, they haven't accomplished really much yet. So the Chargers need to be really good this year, or else I think they need to make some key moves, not only to the roster, but to the front office as well. The Rams are going to be right down there with the Cardinals towards the bottom of the league as they travel to Seattle week 1. Geno Smith, I think it's going to be hard to replicate what he did last year. He was just fantastic. So I think the Seahawks are going to regress this year, but they're going to beat the Rams because the Rams aren't good.
Is Stafford playing in this game though? That's the question. I'm not really sure. I guess it changes a little bit, obviously, if Stafford's playing.
Yeah.
I think the Rams can make this close. I think the Rams could actually win. I'm not that high in the Seahawks. I think they've really had like a everything went right type of season last year. But I'll still take them over the Rams week 1. I think the Rams aren't going to be good at all.
Yeah, I guess if Stafford's back, the Rams could be a little bit competitive this year, but that's going to be the 49ers division to lose, really, with a couple bottom feeders and the Seahawks in there. So the NFC West just went from loaded to not good at all in a very short amount of time.
A division that is still loaded, the NFC East, the Sunday night matchup, the Cowboys going to the Meadowlands in East Rutherford, New Jersey, against the New York Football Giants. This is a game, Garrett, on Sunday Night Football. It's going to be big. Everyone's going to be watching. Everyone's been looking forward to this. The Giants fans talking a lot, thinking that they've made such leaps and different levels that they've been in years past after beating the Vikings last year. We'll see. The Cowboys, the hype is still there. It's the same thing every year. People say, oh, it's Super Bowl or bust, right? I just think you got to focus on the regular season right now if you're the Dallas Cowboys, and then once you get to the playoffs, just lock in for one game. You got to treat it that way because right now and in years past, the pressure of game after game after game, you need to get here, you need to get there, looms large, and I think that's been their thing that has been holding them back. But week 1, I will take the Cowboys.
Yeah, the Giants felt like they really maxed out their potential last year. I don't think their ceiling was much higher than 11-6, which is what they got to, and then they won a playoff game, which I didn't think was going to happen, although I did think that they had a chance at beating the Vikings. But I don't really know what the Giants are going to look like this year. It just felt like, I don't want to say they caught lightning in a bottle last year, but
similar to the Seahawks, I feel like.
They're better than the Seahawks, and I wouldn't be surprised if they made the playoffs again, but there's just no way they can be better than 11-6 this year. I think that starts off with a loss in a close divisional. I'm gonna go a low-scoring game here. Week 1, I think some rust is gonna be need to be shaken off. But if the Cowboys want to be taken seriously, this is a game they have to win.
I mean, I guess you can put it that way, but I think they're definitely gonna win this game. Dak Prescott hasn't lost to the Giants since his rookie year in 2016 when he's been playing. So, and they swept them last year. They swept them before that as well. So the Giants haven't beaten Dallas in a while, and they haven't beaten Dak Prescott in a very long time. And I don't think that's gonna change on Sunday night.
Yeah, it'll be a good game. As well, I mean, the hype's just even higher because it's week 1 and everyone wants to watch the NFL again. Talk about a hype matchup. We got Bills at Jets Monday night. Aaron Rodgers, Jets debut. The talk of the offseason for the Bills has been the offensive line and how weak it is. They did add Dalton Kincaid at tight end. So I think he's going to have just a huge year. But a lot of Buffalo fans are worried about the offensive line and how it's going to look.
And I would be too. I think the Jets are going to absolutely run the Bills on Monday night. And I got Aaron Rodgers. The hype is going to get even crazier. I can see it happening. Rodgers right now, I think it's a little bit kind of like a Tom Brady in Tampa Bay type thing. This is New York Aaron. I think he's in a good space. Head-wise, you know how crazy he can be. So I think the Jets should be taken seriously this year. I know people have been saying, oh, all this, they're doing all these moves to get Dalvin Cook, all this stuff, to go win 9 games, bring back all those players like Randall Cobb and Alan Lazard. I think Rodgers is actually loving the situation with New York. But I will say this. The Bills question his offensive line, and so is the Jets. They have the same type of problems. But the Jets have a very good defense. They have the defensive rookie in the year last year in Sauce Gardner. And they have the offensive rookie of the year last year in Garrett Wilson. And I think Rodgers is going to be great with Wilson. I think Sauce is going to lock up Stephon Diggs. And I think it's going to be a tough game for Buffalo, really, week 1. But it will be fun to watch. I can see this game being close, but I think the Jets are really just going to overpower them.
Yeah, the Bills favored in this game. I always just thought Josh Allen just could really win any game, and I still think that, obviously.
I agree, too.
At how talented he is, and I was just expecting him to have sort of like a Super Bowl by now. I just feel like he has that it factor where you almost feel like
maybe make it to a Super Bowl.
Yeah, you almost have that feeling where unless he's going up against Patrick Mahomes, you have that feeling where like you're like, this guy's not gonna lose the football game. Like he's gonna somehow find a way to win. And on the other side of things for the Jets, Garrett Wilson was a 1,000-yard receiver with Zach Wilson as his quarterback, and he just upgraded Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if Sauce Gardner's gonna lock up Stephon Diggs, but he's certainly gonna make his life very difficult. And the Bills did not have anyone to step up last year. Isaiah McKenzie, Gabe Davis, they were not very good.
And the Bills have questions at cornerback as well. Tre'Davious White, a guy who cannot cannot stay healthy for how long now? It feels like the past 2 or 3 years, right? So they're relying on him to be their number one corner.
And then
I think you're
they
gonna have
still have a
trouble.
battle
I think you're
at
still
that
gonna
number
have
2 spot,
and
as
you're gonna
well.
have trouble with Garrett Wilson going against them with Rodgers.
Yeah.
I think it's a recipe for absolute disaster. On the good side of things for the Bills, I think James Cook is going to have a breakout year. I'm high on James Cook, Delvin Cook's brother, and I think Delvin Cook is going to add a lot to this Jets offense as well. But Breece Hall is back, a guy that was electric last year. So Rodgers has a lot to work with this Jets offense.
Yeah, it's just hard to see Delvin Cook having an 1,000-yard plus season with all the
Brees,
weapons.
yes.
Just with all the weapons. You have Rodgers, you have Brees, you have Wilson. You mentioned the additions from Green Bay.
But I think it was still a really good roster move to me.
Yeah, I'm going with the Bills in this matchup. I feel like the Jets should be the better team, but it is week 1. It is Aaron Rodgers' Jets debut, and I just feel like Josh Allen's going to play spoiler here. But the Bills are favored, but I think the majority of the public's going to be on the Jets.
I think it's going to be a really fun game on Monday night. I think all the games have potential to be fun besides the Cardinals-Commanders game. That sounds really awful to watch. And this is kind of same with the Broncos and the Raiders. Not looking forward to those ones. But football is back. Couldn't be more excited. Today I was watching the U.S. Open, and the Americans are doing really good in that right now. Tiafoe, he's
Something we're not
advanced.
used to.
Yeah, Ben Shelton, he's advanced. Coco Gauff, she's advanced. Jessica Pegula, the actual owner of the Bills,
Yeah.
family-wise, she's in there doing good as well. But I was just thinking to myself, Garrett, we need football back because once college football comes back, I'm like, I need NFL back like Saturday to Sunday. I like that feeling. So it's exciting that Thursday, just a few days away now. 4 days, right? Yeah, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yep.
4 days away. We'll follow it the whole season on CR Sports. Thanks for joining us today, everybody, and stay tuned for more episodes.